My younger sister was intersex. As she grew, the two reproductive systems in her body began to reject each other. Despite her frail body, she was shy and gentle. Her boyfriend said she was very special in that regard. I insisted on taking her to the best hospital in Southeast Asia for surgery to remove her male genitalia. After the operation, my sister's body became healthier, but her boyfriend broke up with her. She blamed me for everything. If it weren't for you, sister, I wouldn't have lost him. She stabbed me 18 times with a knife. My parents also believed I had made them lose the son who would carry on the family line. The removal of my sister's male genitalia, Chloe, meant cutting off the future of our family in our hometown. I died. They forgave my sister, even helping her dispose of my body. After dismembering it, they flushed it down the sewer. Reborn into this life, I returned to the day my sister received her test results. Is Chloe Lee's family here? A broadcast suddenly echoed in my ears. I opened my eyes. Before me was a crowded hospital lobby, the hustle and bustle mingling with the announcement. Sister, they're calling your name? The next second, someone pushed me hard, and a delicate face appeared before me. Chloe Lee impatiently waved her hand in front of my face. I startled awake, reflexively patting myself all over. Everything was still there. I had truly come back to life. In my previous life, not wanting my sister to worry, I went into the clinic alone to ask the doctor. The doctor held her test results, sighing as he explained that her dual reproductive organs were developing in a way that caused mutual rejection. If it continued, it would lead to weakness, hormonal imbalance, and many other complications. As her female reproductive organs were well developed, the doctor advised removing the incomplete male part. I told my parents about it. They, however, were overjoyed, saying that this way the Lee family would still have someone to carry on the line. There's no talk of surgery, but I was still determined to take her to the best specialist hospital in Southeast Asia for the operation. After the male genitalia were removed, she became healthy and full of vitality. But then her boyfriend broke up with her. You're not you anymore. Your body is missing a part. I can't love you like before. My sister was in extreme agony, convinced that I had ruined her. She killed me with a knife, then killed our parents too. They also believed I had made them lose their only son to carry on the lineage, that removing Chloe's male genitalia was nothing less than extinguishing the family's future. You deserve to die, sister. They helped my sister dispose of my body, chopping it into pieces and flushing it down the sewer into the septic tank. Thinking of these things, a rage so profound it threatened to consume me. I took a deep breath, slowly relaxed my clenched fists, a cold laugh forming in my heart. Reborn into this life, I would no longer interfere with my sister's gender identity. Whether she lived or died was no concern of mine. In my previous life, my parents had accidentally learned that she was intersex and warned me not to tell her. I agreed but still worried she might listen to our parents and ask me to take her for an examination. I simply lied, saying I wanted her to have a simple health checkup. So I woke up at 2 a.m. to queue for a specialist appointment. During that time, I was conned out of several million by hospital touts. I even fainted from low blood sugar, hitting my head and leaving a large gash on my forehead. Yet afterward, my parents never asked me a single question like, "Are you hurt? Are you tired?" Instead, they scolded me for being clumsy, saying I deserved to fall and should remember the lesson. They had never once acknowledged any of my sacrifices. They only considered them natural. I stood up and took my sister's hand. I had intended to say we would go in together, but I said, "You're 20 years old now. There are some things you should know yourself. It's a nuisance." My sister impatiently pulled her hand away from mine. "Didn't you say you'd go in alone? I still have to play my game." I threw the test results and clinic card at her. "Read it if you want or don't. I'm too lazy to care now." Chloe, who had been overly spoiled by our parents since childhood, let out a cold snort. "I don't care if I don't read it. Who needs it?" She grabbed her backpack from the bench and ran out. I breathed a sigh of relief. After all, in my previous life, the doctor's fees and the cost of the gender-related surgery in Southeast Asia were all paid by me. Now I had saved it all. I immediately went home, took out my savings book, and paid the deposit on a house I had long desired. In my previous life, if not for worrying about her surgery, I wouldn't have bit my lip and given up on that house, forced to rent a shabby place outside. After completing all the procedures, the electronic lock clicked, and I was immediately met with a torrent of insults from my mother. "You wretched woman, what's wrong with you? Abandoning Chloe alone at the hospital? What kind of sister are you?" Before, I would just silently endure being scolded and beat. But this time, I tilted my head, dodging her slap. "She's 20 years old, not a child anymore. She won't get lost." My father, seemingly anxious, pulled my mother's arm. "Stop arguing." "What did the doctor say today? Can Chloe carry on the Lee family line?" It turned out my parents only agreed to let me take her for a checkup because they wanted to determine her fertility. For a moment, I didn't know whether to pity or hate Chloe. I told them the truth. The doctor said the male reproductive organs must be removed or her life will be in danger. As expected, my mother was so furious her chest heaved. "What kind of incompetent doctor is that?" "I'll chop him to pieces," she asked me worriedly. "What do you think?" I pretended to be serious. "Of course, that doctor is talking nonsense. If they remove it, where will our family get a male heir? Don't you agree, father?" In my previous life, after I told them the test results, my parents scolded me terribly. When I insisted on taking my sister for surgery, my father beat me, cursing me for deliberately severing the Lee family line. My father, in his anger, laughed and nodded. "My eldest daughter is still the responsible one." Just then my sister came home, clutching her lower body, her face contorted. "Mother, father, I feel so uncomfortable. There's a lot of bleeding down there." My father frowned in annoyance. "What's all the fuss about? Isn't that normal for a girl every month?" My mother hastily led her to change clothes, then whispered mysteriously to me, "Chloe, you're going to have a younger brother soon. Just now, I saw her thing was developing so well. It must just be puberty causing the bleeding." My father wiped away tears upon hearing this. "Good, after all these years, we finally won't let down the Lee family." Then he mumbled to himself, "I wonder when I'll get to hold my grandson." In my previous life, they killed me for this so-called carrying on the family line. And in this life, they still want a grandson? I pretended to be calm. "Mother, father, there seems to be a kind of medicine that makes sons strong and boosts masculinity. How about giving it to her?" "Oh, there's such a thing?" My parents looked at each other, their eyes shining brightly. From that day on, my ignorant sister began to have a new item on her menu. Great strength pills. My mother cautiously investigated thoroughly before buying them. Only after hearing that female weightlifters also used them did she feel at ease. From the moment Chloe became their heir apparent, they no longer cared about me, only asking perfunctorily, "Why did you move out?" I smiled. "Because my younger brother is coming soon, I have to make room." My parents praised me for being understanding and warned me to treat Chloe well in the future, as all the family assets would be left to her. Don't be jealous. Chloe took the great strength pills for over a month, and her entire body changed noticeably. In fact, the medicine was a high-dose synthetic male hormone. My father was overjoyed when he saw her voice gradually deepen and hair start growing on her chin and upper lip, even calling to praise me. Below her waist, her male reproductive organ grew larger and larger. My sister felt a little bothered, but more than that, she felt a sweet satisfaction. She often showed off her wealthy boyfriend, even deliberately calling to provoke me. "Sister, you don't know, but he's so obsessed with me lately. Ethan says, 'You look so special like this, I love it.'" Her hoarse voice, full of coquettishness, made me want to vomit. I secretly thought that Ethan, that rich playboy, truly had unusual tastes. "All right, as long as you're happy." I said a few perfunctory words and hung up. But within a few days, my sister complained of stomach pain at home. "Mother, father, I'm in so much pain, I'm dying, take me to the hospital." By this time, my sister no longer had any feminine features, her face covered in sideburns. My parents looked at each other and immediately rejected the idea of going to the hospital. After all, their trial medicine couldn't disappear so easily. "Just bear with it a little longer, good Chloe. You'll be fine soon. It's just stress." But I knew this was a severe rejection reaction between the two reproductive systems in her body. My parents had no idea that if it continued, Chloe's external male genitalia would rupture. Even though she cried out in agony, my father still insisted that no one would ruin his dream of holding a grandson. He even increased Chloe's dose of great strength pills. My mother bought additional tonics like deer penis and musk. Thus, the male hormones in my sister's body surged violently, and her temperament became increasingly volatile. A dish that wasn't to her liking could cause her to overturn the dining table. My father tried to discipline her but was punched in the face, leaving him bruised and swollen. My mother, furious, tried to retaliate, but I pulled her back. "What are you doing, father? Chloe is the Lee family's heir. What if you damage her?" My mother's lips tightened, Purple with suppressed anger, she cursed a few times then gave up helplessly. For the sake of a grandson, he indulged Chloe even more. I had grown up enduring beatings, constantly called an accursed child by my father. I never imagined that in this life I would witness him getting beaten. My mother was different. She was always cheerful. She had been mocked her entire life for not bearing a son. Now she held her head high, constantly posting photos of my sister in the family group, bragging about having a son soon. A girl turning into a boy, you didn't expect that, did you? Liu Tsui Hua, I have a son to carry on the family name too. She even posted her picture on social media. Someone warned that Chloe showed abnormal signs and needed treatment, but my mother thought they were just jealous that she had a son. She then cursed loudly in the family group of several hundred people. Still not satisfied, she ran to the homes of nearby relatives to stir up trouble. After that, our relatives cut off contact with our family. They didn't realize that in less than 2 months, Chloe had transformed from a girl weighing 110 jin 55 kg to a person weighing 180 jin 90 kg, her face covered in painful red pustules, a layer of dark hair growing on her back. Her slender waist had turned into a thick, barrel-like midsection. Her height had shot up to 1.8 meters, making her look like a water buffalo. That day I went home to get my belongings. My parents weren't home, only Chloe. With her masculine face, she ran towards me crying, "Sister, I feel so uncomfortable, take me to the hospital." As she cried, her eyes suddenly bulged, bloodshot. The pants she was wearing suddenly swelled up like a balloon in her groin. In agony, she unzipped her pants, revealing her lower body, which had swollen to the size of a giant eggplant. From her mouth came painful groans. Strange, distorted tendrils of flesh appeared, constantly morphing and deforming. Drops of red blood rolled down, seeping into the cracks, then suddenly ripped open. The scene was so shocking it left me numb for a few seconds. This situation wouldn't have been so bad if it had been treated in time. Had her body's hormones completely spiraled out of control. But even this could not compare to the suffocating pain of being murdered by my own family in my previous life. Back then, when I took her to the hospital, she resented me. Would I be so foolish in this life again? I shook my head. What nonsense are you talking about? If mother and father find out I took you to the hospital secretly, they'll surely break my legs. As soon as I finished speaking, Chloe's eyes blazed with hatred. Hate me then. Hate me for an entire lifetime. It was mother and father who made you like this. Chloe wanted to say more, but there was a sound outside the door. Our parents were home. Seeing her condition, they were startled. Chloe, enraged, grabbed a glass and threw it at my father. He was old and slow to react, getting hit on the forehead, leaving a large bruise. My mother sobbed. "My child, what's wrong with your father? So much blood is flowing, and down there it's torn open." All her life, my mother only knew how to cry. Faced with trouble, she cried. My father clutched his head, groaning, "I'm in agonizing pain." Then he turned and slapped my mother. "What are you crying for? You do nothing but cry. It's just a little blood, and you're making such a fuss." Unable to hit Chloe, he could only take out his anger on his wife. My mother frantically pulled my arm. "Chloe is like this. What do we do now, child?" I didn't want to get involved anymore. But if I remained silent and did nothing, they might blame me. "Well, if father won't go to the hospital, how about taking her to second uncle's clinic by the riverside?" Hearing me say this, my father rolled his eyes. "No need for such trouble. It costs money for travel. I'll just call your second uncle and tell him to bring some medicine." By this time, my sister had gone completely mad, smashing almost all the furniture in the house. Just then, second uncle hurriedly arrived with his medicine box. The whole house was a chaotic mess. The TV screen in the living room, along with the electrical wires and coffee table, were shattered like glass. The kitchen utensils and dishes were all broken. My parents had to work together to tie Chloe to a chair. Second uncle looked at her from head to toe several times, then calmly stroked the goatee on his chin and said, "It's nothing, just too much hot food. I'll give her an injection and she'll be fine." I didn't know what second uncle injected, but my sister did quiet down. My father's face filled with smug satisfaction. "I told you, what's the point of going to the hospital? It's expensive and troublesome." Although my sister was calmer, she still whispered, "I wanted to go to the hospital, why didn't you let me go?" My father immediately slapped her. "Shut up, you rotten girl. Do you know how much effort I've put into you? All you do is demand to go to the hospital. Look at your sister. She's never been to the hospital since she was little, and she's still alive and well." My mother stood by, nodding in agreement. My father's words brought painful memories surging back. Since childhood, whether I was seriously or lightly ill, my parents had never taken me to the hospital. Even when I had severe pneumonia, they dismissed it as a minor issue. Finally, second uncle took pity and gave me some medicine. Fortunately, I recovered. When I was 16, my father was drunk. While looking for beer, he knocked over a pot of boiling oil in the kitchen. Hot oil poured all over my arm. Large and small blisters covered my arm. My mother just glanced at it, then used a needle to prick each blister and applied soy sauce. At that time, I was young and knew nothing, only that it hurt terribly. Just a few days later, my arm became severely infected. I cried and begged to go to the hospital, but my parents adamantly refused. My father even used his belt to beat me within an inch of my life. My 8-year-old sister at the time calmly said, "Sister should thank father for not pouring oil on her face." Perhaps I was fated for a long life. My arm gradually recovered, but my left arm was forever scarred with a dark mark. I pulled up my sleeve, looked at the scar, my heart full of resentment, then turned to my sister and smiled. "Chloe, listen to mother and father. I've lived like this since I was little, and aren't I still fine?" My parents praised me for being obedient. My sister glared at me resentfully. "How can you be so selfish, sister?" But my parents paid no attention. After seeing second uncle off, my parents felt relieved. My father took out beer to drink, and my mother went out to play mahjong. I made an excuse to leave the house, never expecting something major to happen in the middle of the night. My sister bit off half of my father's ear. He screamed in pain. This time, he really couldn't take it anymore and lunged at her to fight, but she was already unstable. The strong stimulation caused her lower body to split into 4 pieces. I arrived at the hospital just as she was being rushed into emergency. My mother clutched the doctor's arm, crying, "Doctor, what's wrong with my child? Why is there so much blood?" The doctor was nonchalant. "What do you mean, what's wrong? Stop spouting nonsense." My father clutched his bandaged left ear, his face dark. The male doctor glared at my parents with furious eyes. "What kind of parents are you? She has 2 reproductive systems. Now her hormones are severely imbalanced. Why didn't you bring her to the hospital sooner?" "What did you say?" my father roared. The doctor remained calm. "The situation is very serious now. Her reproductive organs are torn due to excessive stimulation from male hormones. Both male and female reproductive organs need to be removed." The doctor explained that because my parents gave her too many great strength pills, her hormones were disrupted, damaging her normally healthy ovaries, causing them to atrophy and prematurely age beyond recovery. My mother stood frozen. "What nonsense are you talking about?" My father grabbed the doctor's collar. "Dare to say that again?" "Please calm down," the doctor said patiently. "Essentially, we're only removing the external male reproductive organs. We'll try our best to preserve the female part. If you dare touch my son, I'll kill you." My father raised his fist, threatening to hit the doctor. "No one is to touch my son. Do you hear me?" The doctor frowned and dodged. The security immediately called security. My father was quickly pulled away. My sister, using her last bit of strength, grabbed my mother's hand. "Mother, save me, sister. I don't want to die." I dared not do anything. My mother ran in a panic, clutching the doctor's white coat. "Doctor, save her. Our Lee family cannot be without an heir." The emergency room descended into chaos. People around began to point fingers. A daughter in such a state, and they still insist on a son. They're truly creating bad karma. "I'm afraid the child won't be neither male nor female after this." My sister's eyes, as she lay on the stretcher, flashed with hatred. But now, things were no longer decided by her or our parents. My sister was quickly pushed into the operating room. After some unknown amount of time, the operating room light turned off. The nurses and doctors emerged. "The bleeding has stopped. The male reproductive organs have been completely removed. Now we need to re-regulate the hormone levels in her body. Whether her ovaries can be preserved and whether she can continue to live as a woman depends on her future medication and treatment." Upon hearing this, my mother collapsed, kept muttering, "My son," before falling unconscious on the spot. As for my father, he was detained for 15 days for his disruptive behavior. During that time, due to improper treatment, my sister's ovaries completely atrophied and deteriorated. Without the influence of sex hormones, her body gradually returned to its previous physique, but at the same time, her breasts also flattened, turning her into a person who was neither male nor female. When her boyfriend came to visit, he immediately broke up with her. "You're neither man nor woman. If you hadn't made me feel good before, I would have dumped you a long time ago." My sister buried her face in her hands, crying in despair. My mother just coldly said, "What are you crying for? There's nothing to cry about." With that, my sister exploded, grabbing a chair and slamming it directly into my mother. She screamed once and collapsed. Chloe went berserk, hitting and cursing. "It's all your fault. You two ruined me like this. If you had taken me to the hospital from the beginning, told me what was wrong, and fed me properly, how would I have ended up like this? Now it's great. I've lost that part, lost my ovaries, and can't even have children for the Lee family. Are you satisfied?" Her face was contorted with pain and hatred. A powerful punch knocked my mother unconscious. "Is anyone there? Someone's dead." Doctors and nurses rushed in to restrain my sister. The doctor diagnosed her with signs of a mental disorder and recommended transferring her to the nearest psychiatric hospital for treatment. The transfer costs were not small, but fortunately I knew where my parents hid their private money. They said it was a fund for raising their future son. Now one was detained, one was unconscious. I quietly took the money and asked the nurse to complete the transfer procedures. My sister was almost completely restrained, being loaded into an ambulance. "Sister, don't leave me," her voice echoed from behind. I did not turn back. At this moment, my mother slowly regained consciousness. "Oh heaven, why is my fate so miserable?" Then she continued to sob, but what she worried about most was still my father, who was in detention. 15 days passed quickly. I personally went to pick up my father. By this time, he was still furious that my mother had agreed to the surgery to remove my sister's male genitalia. My father kicked a trash can by the roadside, enraged. "Don't be angry anymore," I gently reminded him. "Relying on Chloe is hopeless now. You're still young, why don't you have another child yourself?" My father froze, his eyes lit up as if he had just discovered a profound truth. "That's right. If your mother can't bear children, there are other women." Years ago, my father had a few mistresses outside, but some couldn't bear children and were abandoned, others couldn't stand his stinginess and left. Afterward, my father dutifully returned to my mother because she was obedient, understanding, and served him well. But now, the desire for a son, ignited by Chloe's situation, was extinguished by reality. My father could not accept not having a son. With just one suggestive word from me, he seemed to awaken. "That's right, if I don't have a son who will mourn me when I die, who will offer sacrifices to me," he mumbled like a madman. From that day on, my father never returned home. Only my mother was left alone. She frantically called, "Chloe, come home, my child. I miss you so much. Your father is angry with me and won't come home. Your sister has ended up like this now." Her voice began to choke, but I felt no pity. "Mother, I don't miss you. I'm grown up now and I have my own life." When I was little, my mother had wanted to abandon me countless times, even blaming me for my father's infidelity. My father would constantly curse and beat me. It wasn't until my mother became pregnant with my sister that he started to ease up. One time, my mother even tried to sell me to human traffickers. Fortunately, I quick-wittedly escaped and hid at second uncle's house for days. Though I was their biological child, sadly, they never considered me their own. 2 months passed like this. The psychiatric hospital called to report that my sister had escaped. Knowing her personality, I was sure she would return to seek revenge on our parents. Regarding this, my mother showed no reaction at all, other than worrying about my father's situation. My father, meanwhile, was chillingly indifferent because he already had a new woman. Coincidentally, I personally saw him walking arm in arm with a gaudily dressed, buxom woman, passing right in front of me. I followed them to the hospital's obstetrics department. The woman went into the examination room. About an hour later, she came out with test results. My father nervously wrung his hands, snatching the paper to read. Immediately after, he hugged the woman tightly, showering her with kisses. "I have a son, haha." The woman blushed shyly, lightly poking my father's chest with her finger. "You old scoundrel, aren't you going to marry me soon? I don't want to walk into your house with a pregnant belly." I left the hospital without a ripple of emotion. There's a good show about to start. My mother was sure to go insane. Indeed, from second uncle and the neighbors, I heard that my parents were going through divorce procedures, arguing fiercely. Who would have thought that less than half a month later, my mother personally called me. "Chloe, come home for a meal when you're free. Your father has brought Mei Hong home." Mei Hong was that woman. I gasped in astonishment. "Are you insane, mother? How can you endure this?" My mother's voice softened over the phone, sounding helpless. "My child, isn't that how all women live? You're not married, so you don't understand. Men are a woman's sky." I replied coldly. "I don't care, this is your life, mother, just make sure you don't regret it." All our relatives called me one after another to ask about the situation. Everyone was astonished. "How can your mother put up with this?" According to second aunt, my mother and father initially argued very fiercely, crying and screaming, so loudly the entire neighborhood heard. But after that, my father didn't come home anymore. My mother had no choice but to accept. As long as he came home and didn't divorce her, she was willing to take care of the mistress's child. But Mei Hong refused, crying and demanding official status. It was then that my father remembered my mother's devotion. He wanted a son but didn't want to leave my mother. So he gritted his teeth, withdrew all his retirement savings from the bank, gathering 88,000 yuan as a bride price for Mei Hong. Mei Hong, knowing she had been married before and had a questionable past, considered that amount of bride price acceptable and stopped making trouble. So, the three of them lived together under one roof. My mother became Mei Hong's maid, giving up the large bed for my father and Mei Hong and moving into the storage room where I used to sleep. This room was originally converted from a restroom, with drain pipes connected above. Every time the toilet flushed, the noise was unbearable. Yet my mother had made me sleep there for over 20 years. Every morning at 4 a.m., my mother had to get up early, go to the market to buy Mei Hong's favorite congee, fried dough sticks, and mustard-flavored soy milk. One time, she woke up late and my father slapped her. "You wretched woman! If my son starves to death, can you bear it?" My mother's hair was disheveled, her face swollen from the slap, yet she dared not say a word. By noon, she had to change dishes and prepare tonic foods for Mei Hong. In the evening, she even had to help her bathe and soak her feet. On the other end of the phone, second aunt could only sigh. After hearing this, my heart felt a little bitter, but then it grew cold again. That was the price my mother brought upon herself. My mother was over 40, but still didn't understand that she couldn't entrust her lifelong happiness to such a foolish man. Foolish to the extreme. I went back home to retrieve all my belongings. Opening the door, I saw Mei Hong with a huge pregnant belly. Her stomach was 3 times larger than before, like a balloon about to burst, but her complexion was terribly pale. Her body was even weaker than before pregnancy, her limbs stick-thin, making it difficult to walk, resembling a giant spider. I didn't see my mother. My father was lying in the bedroom, snoring loudly, having just finished drinking. I casually asked, "What month are you in?" Mei Hong proudly rubbed her belly. "Only 5 months," I frowned. "Why is your belly so big? Haven't you had a prenatal checkup?" Mei Hong looked bewildered. "Your father said that a big appetite brings good fortune. A big belly means the son is developing well. Checkups and prenatal care are all nonsense." I could only curse silently in my heart. If my mother had bothered with prenatal care years ago, she might not have given birth to a deformed sibling. This time, the child in Mei Hong's womb was probably not normal either. I kindly reminded her, "Prenatal checkups are mandatory. You should talk to my father again." Mei Hong nodded. Just then my father woke up, opening his mouth to curse. Get out of here. What does my son have to do with you? What checkups are you talking about?" "Your mother never had checkups back then, and she still gave birth to you two just fine." Just then, my mother came home. She hastily put down her things and pulled me aside. "Don't make your father angry anymore." She didn't ask me to stay for dinner, only told me to hurry up and leave and don't come back again. In the first few days after my father brought Mei Hong home, my mother called me almost every day, inviting me back for meals. I knew she was being tortured to exhaustion by my father and Mei Hong, wanting me to come back for support, but I always refused. This time, however, even knowing I was there, she wanted me to leave as soon as possible. The moment she closed the door, I caught a flicker of panic in her eyes. What had she done? One night at the end of August, Mei Hong went into labor. The strange thing was that it was only a little over 6 months, clearly abnormal. To find out what my mother had done, I secretly went to the hospital. Unexpectedly, I ran into my sister, who had been missing for half a year. Even with short hair and a hat, I still recognized her as Chloe. "Chloe, sister, tell me, has something happened?" "I just did as you said, giving that woman a little laxative every day, hoping she'd miscarry, but the doctors said it was poisoning." Not having seen her for a long time, my mother's temples had turned white, her body stooped and trembling uncontrollably. My sister let out a cold laugh. "Those laxatives were mercury. I gave them to her every day so she'd die slowly." "Are you insane, Chloe Lee?" my mother screamed. "That's your younger brother." "What younger brother?" My sister laughed faintly, cruelly. Because you wanted a son, you ruined my life, made me lose everything, and still have the gall to demand a child. I'll make you all die with me. I recorded everything with my phone. Immediately after I called the police, a blood-curdling scream suddenly echoed from the delivery room. My mother and sister also ran to see. It turned out Mei Hong had just given birth. Due to the poisoning, her entire body was purple and bruised. The baby was a deformed child, with limbs but no eyes and genitalia growing on its head. Mei Hong cried out tragically, attracting a crowd. I stood hidden among the people, watching my father's face flush with anger. No way, this isn't my child. Did you swap my baby? Give me back my child. How could such a monster be my son? Die, Li Zhaiheng. My sister burst out from a corner holding a fruit knife and lunged directly at my father. The sound of the knife piercing flesh rang out. My mother rushed forward to shield my father. Blood gushed across the room. Someone screamed, someone called the police. The scene was chaotic. My mother clutched her wound, collapsing into my father's arms. Zhaiheng, I'm sorry, it's all my fault for not being able to bear you a son. My father was stunned. My sister let out a wild laugh. Father, mother and I gave you a son, do you like him? She then recounted how she tricked mother into giving Mei Hong poison, causing her miscarriage. My father held my mother and collapsed, his eyes empty like a madman. They're all insane. Why does heaven treat me this way? I only wanted a son, was that wrong? He burst into sobbing. I spoke up, and what about me, and Chloe, what was our crime? The police arrived quickly. My sister was handcuffed. I handed them the video on my phone. My father sat silently at the emergency room door, waiting for news of my mother's rescue. Sadly, my mother did not survive. That night, I went to the detention center. My sister was imprisoned for intentional homicide. As for Mei Hong, after losing her child, she became disoriented, her mind unstable. One day, my father couldn't watch her. She jumped from the 8th floor of the hospital. My father, Li Zhaiheng, believed it was all the doctor's fault. He harbored a deep hatred for that hospital. So he hid an axe in his backpack and stormed into the hospital, looking for the doctor who had delivered Mei's baby that day. It was lunchtime, and the doctor was out eating. Li Zhaiheng, in a rage, found the only clinic still open and raised his axe towards the doctor inside. I'll kill you all, you quacks. I'll chop you all to death. Despite the doctor's desperate pleas, he couldn't escape and was killed. Li Zhaiheng was immediately arrested afterward, detained at the prison pending trial. I learned about this a few days later from reading the news on my phone. The day my father was brought to court for sentencing, I visited him once. I just looked at him silently. When I was little, I used to wonder why I didn't have a gentle father like other children. Why didn't my father like me? Why did he always hit me and scold me? I used to think it was my fault, but now I understood I wasn't wrong. The fault lay with him, a terrible man. He didn't deserve to be a father. He deserved to never have a son in this lifetime. Upon hearing the two words, son, Li Zhaiheng struggled violently. Even with his hands and feet cuffed, he roared, "You wretched dog, I gave birth to you, and you dare to speak to me like that?" He roared and cursed incessantly, immediately pinned down by the guards. I hoped the court would sentence him to death. After saying that, I turned my back and left the detention center. The doctor's murder case he caused had full evidence and shocked public opinion. The verdict was delivered very quickly, sentenced to death, to be carried out immediately. The day he was executed, I put on my backpack and left the city. My future lay somewhere far away.